Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Rob DeCanyon-Knight. I'm a technical strategist at SUSE, which is basically a cool name for a glorified SE. And my colleague here.
My name is Peter Andersson, and I'm Swedish, so as half of the population I have a son name, so Andersson, Svensson, or other Svenssons, and I have the same role as Rob.
Yeah, backup Rob, basically. So for those of you unaware, SUSE, we're here today to talk about Stratos and do a brief introductory session to Stratos. So if you've been to any of the advanced sessions of Stratos, then you might want to walk out now because this will be, you've probably covered this already. But yeah, for those unaware, SUSE, we are the largest independent open source company, over 1,300 employees. And the main thing to take away from this slide is we're hiring. We're on the board downstairs for anyone who's willing to take a look. So, that's a great quote that we've got up there, when user experience doesn't consider all users, shouldn't it be known as some user experience, or SUX? And this is really me, or taking this and applying it to Cloud Foundry. Who here is a developer? Put your hand up. Cool. Anyone here in operations? A couple. Anyone in business management or a manager? Okay, no, that's good. Anyone here from marketing or legal? No? You laugh, but this is exactly the point. Cloud Foundry isn't really accessible to those other types of users. So developer, yeah, great for developer, but for operations teams, yes, it can be. But for those other types of people, your marketing, your legal, your manager, it's not accessible at all. And part of that is due to the management tools that are available. I'm going to talk a little bit about SUSE Cloud Application Platform, because part of this is making Cloud Foundry more accessible to more people. Because if we don't make it more accessible to the community and to more individuals, it will start to wither and die as a technology. And to talk about SUSE Cloud Application Platform leads us in to talking about Stratos, because we developed Stratos as part of Cloud Application Platform. The key things to take away from this is that Cloud Application Platform is SUSE's containerized Cloud Foundry distribution. We were the first company to run Cloud Foundry completely containerized on top of Kubernetes. Now it seems everyone's going down that route. You've heard about Project Irene and Quarks and everything else. So, kind of really helped to set the trend there. It's 100% free and open source. Although, yes, it is a product, it is the exact same code in the product that you go on GitHub and download. We don't provide a separate Helm chart for our customers. As a developer, you can go on there, run it on top of Minikube, download the Helm chart, and get going right away. And that's why I've put the link up there now to give it a try. Obviously, if you do work for a company and you want support and SLAs, that's where we come in, with our product offering. I'm going to hand over to Peter now. He's going to talk a little bit about Cloud Foundry management.
Yeah, so just by having a platform, it's not enough. You need to be able to access it. And there are different ways of accessing it, depending on what role you have, if you're a developer or operator, or as Rob said, legal, marketing. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So what tools are available today? And what can we add to that tool set? So, of course, the CLI, you have all seen the famous CF push command a couple of times these days, or today. And the good thing with the CLI is, of course, it's easy to use if you are a developer or Linux geek, easy to use for automation, for scripting, and so on. But for others, it might be a little bit harder. Some considerations could be that you need a client to be installed on a machine that you have access to, and it's hard to switch between different instances of CAB or Cloud Foundry installed. Sorry, I'm so used to say SUSE CAB. So. But different instances, and also it could be hard to change between different spaces and orgs and so on, depending what role you have. So, we created Stratos, and that's a layer around Cloud Foundry that can help you manage and get access to it and work with it. And it also provides an interface to Kubernetes, because Cloud Foundry version that SUSE provides is running on top of Kubernetes, and so Kubernetes is a hard or a big part of the deployment you need to be accessed and working with when you're accessing it. So the reason why Stratos was created was that it wasn't a standard UI for it, so no graphical interface to access it. So SUSE created it and open sourced it in 2017. It was accepted as a Cloud Foundry project, newly graduated to a full-filled project. And we have seen quite much fuss in the market. A lot of contributors and others are working on it right now. So that's fun and great experience. So some highlights of what you can do with Stratos. Of course, you can view apps and see what they look like, the status. You can go into every instance of a certain app and see how is that doing. Is it crashed, or is it deploying or starting, or what status it is. And you can, of course, look at the autoscaler policies. That's something that could be cumbersome for a non-techie to fiddle with and manage, but you can do it with Stratos. And the marketplace, that's also something that is a mystery for some people. And Stratos help you to do that and manage it and buy things together. Stratos is work, you can connect to any Cloud Foundry instance. It must not be the SUSE version. It could be Pivotal or IBM or Alibaba or other vendors out there. So you just use the same API. It uses the standard API that is provided by Cloud Foundry. And thanks. Next to you, Rob.
Okay, so we've got some icons up there. You know, at the top we've got certified Kubernetes distributions, and we've got certified Kubernetes service providers, and a few cloud providers as well. So put your hand up if your organization or as a developer you use OpenShift or have used OpenShift. A couple of people. Keep your hands up if you've also used Cloud Foundry. Yeah. So wouldn't it be great if you could have both of those on the same platform? You know, Cloud Foundry on top of OpenShift, or managing Cloud Foundry or managing that Kubernetes on top of OpenShift. That is the type of thing that we're offering with our upstream product. We say that we run on any Kubernetes compatible API. So as long as it's Kubernetes 1.8 plus, we can work on that and we can support on that. So that means, you know, in terms of vendor portability, that is, you know, really great. But even just from an open source management perspective, it provides, you know, quite a lot of possibilities as well. There's two kind of versions of Stratos. There is the upstream version that's in the community, and then there's the SUSE version, the one that's included in our cloud application platform. But as I mentioned, although it is included in our cloud application platform, it can also be deployed separately. It's completely free, completely open source. You just grab the Helm chart, or deploy the Docker image, or deploy the CF native application, and you can run it absolutely fine. Some of the things that we've got in the SUSE-ified version haven't yet made their way upstream. They've not yet been, you know, ported up. For example, Kubernetes management, extension management. We've got some Helm features, which I'm going to show you in a second. Those haven't yet made their way into upstream, but they could soon. You know, that's the Cloud Foundry community, I guess, is responsibility to take care of that. But as I say, there's nothing stopping you from deploying either. They are by and large the same, just slightly different UI. And we're going to go into the demo now. And as you'll see, we're going to be demoing the SUSE-fied version. Some of the stuff is in beta, or tech preview, I should say. It's a bit beyond beta. So, pray to the demo gods now. Hopefully it will work. And as I say, this is the one that's available in the SUSE version. So if I go over to Firefox, this is the Stratos login screen. I'm going to go ahead and log in now. Got a bit bigger. Shows us initially any favorites that we've got, so any applications that we favorited or any recent activity. I'll say now, this is actually running on top of Azure AKS. It's talking to two different SUSE Cloud Foundry instances, one of them in one of them in Alibaba, and one of them on AKS. Now, if I go to my Applications tab, this is where it's listing all of the apps that are deployed in any of the Cloud Foundries that Stratos is connected to. And I can see there, we can see no one is really deploying anything in Beijing yet, but inside our Azure instance, there's a lot going on. Now, deploying an app is really simple, and this is where I mentioned other departments earlier on today. There should be no reason why our marketing or our legal teams shouldn't be able to deploy and manage apps. I talk to customers every day that just tell me, well, our marketing team went off and bought this SaaS application, even though our developers have made this technology that can do the same job. If we don't make things accessible for other teams to consume, they're just going to go off and do it anyway. Just like we found with public cloud, right? When it was first launched, if we didn't find ways to enable it in our organizations, people just went ahead and did it anyway, and it became a bit of a wild, wild west. So we can deploy from any GitHub URL, or we can upload a zip or archive file of our application, or we can just go ahead and deploy an empty shell and then put in our application details later. If I go ahead and choose my organization and my space, and I'm going to go for a project that I know exists. There we go. Clumsy bird, little game, there's me. I'm going to deploy from the master branch. We can choose which commit we want to deploy. Let's go for the latest one. We can give our application a name. Let's go for Rob's app. This is actually just overriding anything that we've already defined inside the Cloud Foundry manifest file for the app. We can choose to create a root. Let's go for Robbie's app. And the domain is going to be that one. And obviously, lots of other stuff that we can customize there if needs be. And we'll go ahead and click deploy. Now, this is the equivalent of doing a CF push. So it's going off, downloading everything from GitHub or uploading the archive. It's then going to stage it. It's then going to deploy it. This is a very relatively simple Node.js app, so it's not going to take too long to do. And we can see that it's staging there. This is our kind of app summary view. We get a lot of basic details about the app. Can we SSH into instances? Where is the app located? What build pack is it using? And we go over to our Instances tab. This is where we could scale up our instances. So if you're in ops, or if you've got an ops team, obviously on the command line, yes, you can scale, CF scale, etc. But using Stratos, someone in a support desk can go ahead and click the button. Not something they don't even necessarily need to know what Cloud Foundry is. They may have never heard of Cloud Foundry, but for a very simple web UI, Stratos, they can go ahead, increase the number of instances, decrease, etc., as needs be. We can also manage our routes through the same web interface, as well as pulling in any logs that are there in the app. I'll talk about services a little bit more in a second, but any kind of Cloud Foundry events also get pulled in, and one of my favorite features, it's what happens when you rest on the keyboard, is application metrics. Now, I'm going to go to this tab in one of the apps that has been up a little while, just because it's not been up long enough to have metrics in. Along with Stratos, we've got a sub-project called Stratos Metrics, which will deploy Prometheus and then allow you to connect Stratos to that Prometheus and automatically pull in the metrics that are available for that app. It uses the standard CF exporter for those familiar with that already. Now the marketplace. This is making available any services that an admin has created. In this case, because we're running on Azure, we've deployed the Azure Open Service Broker API, so we can consume any Azure services. So Azure Database for MySQL, we can create instances of that really easily, check what plans we've got, and then we can bind that to our specific service in the Services tab here, as we can see a couple of people have already done. We can then edit that service, change the plan that it's on, or change any other parameters available there. Now when I go to the Cloud Foundry tab, this is something that I really want to highlight. We're able to manage multiple Cloud Foundries or multiple Kubernetes from the same Stratos instance. So you only need one production Stratos for the 20 Cloud Foundry clusters that you've got. And from a management tool or a multi-cloud tool perspective, that makes it really quite powerful, especially because it's free. In terms of permissions, it's using the standard UAA backend, so any org spaces groups or LDAP or whatever you've got set up for user authentication is automatically pulled in to Stratos as well. And users who log into Stratos can only do the actions that they would be able to do with the Cloud Foundry command line. Everything uses standard Cloud Foundry APIs as well, so it's fully API compatible with any Cloud Foundry, whether that's ours, whether that's Pivotal's, or IBM's Cloud Foundry. It's usable with any Cloud Foundry compatible API. The Kubernetes tab, now this is where things start to get a little bit interesting. This, as I mentioned earlier, is something that the SUSE version of Stratos brings to the table. So it's a little bit ahead of upstream in that area. If I look at our endpoints tab, you can see this is where we've connected our Azure Kubernetes instance to Stratos. Connecting a Kubernetes instance is super easy. We click the plus button, and then we choose it. Have we got a generic Kubernetes, Amazon, SUSE's Kubernetes, or Azure? And then all we do is we put in the name, endpoint address, and then upload a kubeconfig file to provide Stratos with access. And again, each user has the ability to upload their own kubeconfig files. So we're still obeying the standard Kubernetes RBAC permissions. This isn't Tiller. We're not kind of breaking RBAC from Kubernetes in that way. Details that we can get from Kubernetes, similar to the Kubernetes dashboard, we bring in all of the pod usage metrics, node metrics, bring in metrics for what's happening on that node and the pods that are running on that node. You can also see what applications have been deployed. So what has been deployed through Helm into this Kubernetes cluster. And as I mentioned, this can apply for multiple Kubernetes clusters. You can add as many Kubernetes clusters as you have to this. So this only picks up Helm deployed apps, yeah, because it's using Tiller to scrape that information. But because of the changes coming with Helm, this is going to be updated, and when we support Helm 3, we'll be able to see more deployments in this area as well, just as a byproduct of moving away from Tiller, which is great. One of the other things we've got, it does integrate the Kubernetes dashboard as well, so if you have deployed the upstream Kubernetes dashboard, we can view that in the cluster. Now I have deployed the Kubernetes dashboard, I believe, but because of AKS permissions, I haven't gone in and set up the RBAC rules to allow Stratos to actually access anything yet. But you would obviously set that up separately, and then if needs be, for the stuff that you can't do through Stratos yet, you can do through the Kubernetes dashboard. If I go back to the endpoints tab, we can see I've got my SCF metrics box. This is where we've connected our metrics endpoint. So when we deploy Stratos metrics, we also deploy along with it, we also then go and connect, Stratos to that metrics endpoint. Now, I believe Firefox has just crashed that tab, so let's go back in on a new tab. He says. Or it's the Wi-Fi. We had a funny moment earlier on today with the Wi-Fi, so let's see if that's happening again. Oh, it doesn't like that, does it? There we go. Sorry about that. So yeah, we would connect our metrics endpoint there. But yeah, as you can see, we can add Helm chart repositories as well. So when registering a different endpoint, we can add a Helm repository, whether this is an internal one or an external one. As long as it's a standard Helm repository, we can put that in there. And as you can see, I've already added the standard Kubernetes upstream charts repository for the stable and beta charts. And if I go here, we'll see the list of all of the charts that it's synchronized there. Now, the reason that I like this is because we now have the capability to deploy any Helm chart in Kubernetes. When we go here, we see these are the details from the README of the Helm chart. We can choose to install it. There's my namespace arrow in the AKS cluster. And again, if we had multiple Kubernetes clusters connected, we would just choose the one from the drop down there. We then bring in the existing value YAML. For those familiar with Helm, you would have dealt with this many times, I'm sure. To customize it as we like, and then click install. And then it goes off in the background and deploys that Helm chart. So for those of you who have, I don't know, 20, 30, 50 Kubernetes clusters, you can connect them all to Stratos, which is also managing your Cloud Foundry, and then go ahead and deploy and manage Helm chart-based applications. And that's really powerful, both from a kind of dev point of view, but also from an ops point of view especially. So definitely something worth looking into. If I go ahead and look at the release now, we can see, yep, pod's running, containers still coming up, not quite ready yet. We can view any notes from the Helm deployment, that it was outputted at the end. We can see what pods are there, and also any services that have been produced by that Helm deployment as well. I'm sure the container will go ready in a second. So from a management perspective, that kind of really covers the Helm piece, and as I mentioned, that's compatible with any Helm chart repository, really, that's compatible with the API. When it comes to Cloud Foundry management, if I go and take a look at our one in the Alibaba Cloud in Beijing, although we've got no apps deployed, we can see we've got a bunch of users and orgs. So this is the actual Cloud Foundry platform management. And here is where we can manage our organizations, our user groups, and our spaces, and we can also manage quotas as well with Stratos, which again allows us to help delegate some tasks out to other people, for example, service desk staff or basic administrators, tasks which traditionally may have had to be done by an experienced engineer. We've got user management there. We've got the Firehose, so all of the logs from the Cloud Foundry platform being brought into one place. And we can also see and manage our build packs as well, see what's being used, see what stacks we've got deployed as well. So as we can see, one of the benefits of going with SUSE Cloud Application Platform is getting a supported SLES-based image with all the security patches and everything that comes with it. We can also manage security groups, from a networking perspective, and that's going to get even better once we integrate, Istio Envoy into the offering as well, and then we'll bring those management capabilities into Stratos as well. And finally, organization quotas. So all of your standard kind of Cloud Foundry management pieces can be done with Stratos. In terms of, just got a couple of minutes left, where we're taking this, we're going to be boosting up the Kubernetes management features more. We want Stratos to be a great Kubernetes management tool as well as a great Cloud Foundry management tool. And also, we're going to be removing the dependency on Cloud Foundry. So You haven't got any Cloud Foundry instances running anywhere. You haven't got a UAA. You'll soon be able to deploy just Stratos on top of Kubernetes. At the moment, we have a kind of a test container, which can be used for that purpose using MySQL instead of UAA as a user backend, but that's in tech preview at the moment. And as I mentioned, all of this is completely free, completely open source. You can go to the GitHub repo, download the Helm charts, and get started as soon as you leave the room. If you need any help, that's what people like Peter and myself are for. rob.knight@SUSE.com and peter.andersson with 2 S's at SUSE.com, or just come see us at the booth. We're at the SUSE booth for the rest of the day and tomorrow. And during the last couple of minutes, I'll open it up to questions. Someone ask a question.
I'm not sure if I saw it correctly, but on the 2 Cloud Foundry instances you were logged in at admin, do you need, if you're not an admin of the entire platform, like let's say just from a certain
Yeah.
will it narrow down the scope for that work, or is it only working for platform?
So the question was, on the screen where we see the Cloud Foundries, do you need an admin user to manage the Cloud Foundry, or if I log in as an individual user, will I only see the orgs and spaces that they've got access to? Is that correct? The answer is, you don't need to log in as admin. Whatever user you log into, it will give Stratos access to do. So if I logged in with a standard user to Beijing, then I will only be able to do what Beijing does. Conversely, even though I may be logged into Beijing as admin, when the user logs into Cloud Foundry who has restricted permissions to Stratos, they will only be able to see what their organ space allows, because it will be running the CF commands in the backend as that user. So it won't suddenly give all your users admin rights, and you don't need to define any permissions within Stratos at all. There's no kind of permissions management within Stratos. It's all taken from the Cloud Foundry side, because everything is just doing CF commands in the background, if that makes sense. Answer your question? Cool. Any other questions? Another question. Awesome.
In the beginning, you mentioned that a couple of the features are still in beta or experimental mode or whatever. So if I use like the latest stable release, how much of those things am I looking at?
So yeah, the question was, you mentioned a couple of features are beta or tech preview. If I use the latest stable release, will I get those features? The answer is partially. So, no, bear with me. We've released our latest stable release 2.15.1, 2.5.1, not 15, there you go, 2.5.1 a couple of days ago. That's in our Helm chart repository. And if you just deploy it using Helm install, you won't get the advanced Helm capabilities that are there. You'll get the Kubernetes stuff, but you won't get the Helm stuff. If you want the Helm stuff and the Kubernetes Dashboard and the Kubernetes metrics, there's in your Helm deployment values file, you can enable tech preview equals true, and then that will include them. So it's, yeah, so the answer is yes, it's included in the image that's deployed, but it's a feature flag to enable it. And the developer's nodding, so I got that right. Any more questions from anyone? Cool. Well, we'll close this up. This is Peter, I'm Rob. And come see us at the SUSE booth. We've got chameleons. We're giving away a Nintendo Switch. Final thing I want to say, SUSECon 2020 in April in Dublin. Go to SUSECon or Google SUSECon 20. It's a great conference. We're going to be doing all sorts of fun things with Stratos. And yeah, I forgot to put it in the slides, so I've got to mention it. Thanks, everyone. Go. Enjoy.